A couple of weeks ago, the NBA blew up. The night before the 2026 draft, the Milwaukee Bucks traded Giannis Antetokounmpo, a two-time MVP, a champion, a Finals MVP, to the Miami Heat. And right now, the entire league is arguing about it. Let me give you the numbers because they're staggering on both sides. Milwaukee gave up the best player in franchise history and got back 4 players: Tyler Hero, Kel'el Ware, Jaime Jaquez Jr., and Kasparas Yakachonis, plus 3 first-round picks, a pick swap, and a second-rounder. And think about what they're losing. Giannis is the only player in NBA history to average at least 24 points, 9 rebounds, 5 assists, and 1 block per game over his career, and he did the exact same thing in the playoffs. He has led the entire league in fouls drawn per game for 7 straight seasons. So, did Miami just win the trade of the decade? Or did they just gut their roster for a guy who's already 31? Here's the honest answer. Nobody knows yet, and no one will know for years, maybe even a whole decade. In the past, we have seen trades that are so statistically lopsided that they're not debates anymore. Let's talk about the most lopsided trades in the history of the NBA, and some of these will totally shock you. But before we go back in time, let's talk about the most recent trade that's already aging like, well, milk. In February 2025, the Dallas Mavericks traded Luka Doncic to the Los Angeles Lakers. Luka, a player who had made first-team All-NBA 5 times, who had just dragged Dallas all the way to the NBA Finals, and who was doing it at just 25 years old, averaging nearly 29 points a game for his career. In exchange, the Mavericks got Anthony Davis, a young role player and a first-round pick. You see, Anthony Davis is genuinely a great player, but has a long history of not being able to stay on the floor. Anthony Davis played just 29 games for Dallas and got hurt. He averaged 20.2 points and 10.8 rebounds, then was salary dumped to the Washington Wizards in February 2026, barely a year after the trade. Doncic, on the other hand, led the entire NBA in scoring at 33.4 to 33.5 points per game, second in the league in assists at 8.7, adding 7.9 rebounds. And he did it as a reminder of what Dallas gave up. In his first game back at Dallas Arena as a Laker, he dropped 45 points. You do not trade a top 3 player on the planet in his mid-20s, in the prime of his career. It's already being talked about as one of the most baffling decisions that any front office has ever made. But as bad as that one looks, it has a long way to go to catch the deals that we're about to get into. Go back to October 2012. The Oklahoma City Thunder had just been to the NBA Finals with the greatest young core in the league: Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook, Serge Ibaka, and the reigning 6th Man of the Year, James Harden, all 24 or younger. And they couldn't agree on a contract extension with Harden, so they traded him to the Houston Rockets. What did OKC get back? Kevin Martin, who played exactly 1 season in Oklahoma City, Jeremy Lamb, who never became more than a backup there, and a couple of first-round picks, the best of which became Steven Adams, a solid starting center. When the best asset you got back for a superstar is a role-playing center, you lost that trade. Here's what Harden became. The moment he got to Houston and became the guy, his scoring jumped from 16.8 points a game off the bench to nearly 26 as a starter. He made 8 straight All-Star teams, won the MVP award in 2018, led the league in scoring 3 times, and turned the Rockets into a playoff team for 8 consecutive years. Oklahoma City traded a future MVP and a possible dynasty because they didn't want to pay a luxury tax bill. It's now regularly called one of the most consequential trades in NBA history. At the 2012 trade deadline, the New Jersey Nets were desperate to make the playoffs, so they traded a first-round pick to the Portland Trail Blazers for a veteran forward named Gerald Wallace, essentially a half-season rental. Wallace played 16 games for the Nets down the stretch. They still missed the playoffs, and that first-round pick that they gave up, it landed at number 6 overall, and it turned into Damian Lillard. Lillard became a Portland legend, a multiple-time All-Star, and one of the most clutch playoff shooters of his generation, famous for waving goodbye after hitting series-winning buzzer beaters. Gerald Wallace averaged under 8 points a game for the Nets before they moved on from him. They traded a franchise cornerstone they never even got to meet for a rental who was gone in a year. January 2021, the Nets, now in Brooklyn, did it again. They already had Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, and they wanted a 3rd star. So they went and got James Harden from Houston and paid a price that was almost hard to believe. Here are the numbers. Brooklyn shipped out Jarrett Allen, Karis LeVert, Taurean Prince, and Rodion Kurix, plus 3 unprotected first-round picks and 4 first-round pick swaps. That's control of their own draft for essentially 7 straight years, handed away in a single trade. And the payoff? The big 3 of Durant, Harden and Irving barely played together. Injuries and absences wrecked it. Harden played 36 games, then forced his way out of Brooklyn just about a year later. Durant and Irving eventually left too. The super team that mortgaged 7 years of draft capital never reached a single NBA Finals. Their best result was one second-round exit. They blew up their entire future for a title run that lasted about a year and won nothing. Just hold on, because that is not the last time that you will hear about the Nets. But if you're enjoying this video, please take 2 seconds to hit the like and subscribe button. 2019, the Los Angeles Clippers had just convinced Kawhi Leonard to sign, but only if they could pair him with Paul George. So to pry George out of Oklahoma City, the Clippers put together the single largest trade package for one player in NBA history. They gave up a young guard named Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Danilo Gallinari, 5 first-round picks, and 2 additional pick swaps. 5 firsts and 2 swaps for one player. And the payoff for the Clippers? With Kawhi and George, they made exactly 1 conference finals in 2021 and never once reached the NBA Finals. Now, here's the other side. That young guard that they threw into the deal, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who doesn't even need an introduction, but I'll give him one anyways. Shai blossomed in Oklahoma City into an MVP and led the Thunder to a championship. So the Clippers didn't just give up a haul of picks, they gave up a future MVP and a title to win 0. When you trade an eventual champion plus 5 first-round picks and come away with no finals appearances, that's about as statistically damning as it gets. Trust me, if you think it can't get worse, well, it still does. The year is 2013. Once again, the Brooklyn Nets wanted to win, but they were desperate, so they traded for 2 aging Boston Celtics legends, Kevin Garnett and Paul Pierce, plus Jason Terry. Great players, but Garnett was 37 and Pierce was 35. Their best basketball was long gone. To get them, Brooklyn paid a ransom that even at the time, people called reckless. I mean, even before the draft picks were chosen, the Nets sent Boston a bundle of role players and, crucially, 3 unprotected first-round draft picks in 2014, 16, and 18, plus the right to swap first-rounders in 2017. Unprotected, no safety net. It didn't matter how bad Brooklyn got, Boston got the picks anyway. Here's what those picks became. In 2016, the Nets pick landed at number 3 overall, Jaylen Brown. In 2017, through that pick swap, Boston controlled the slot that turned into Jason Tatum. So Boston walked away with Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, 2 All-NBA superstars, the 2 players that they would build their entire future around. And now the payoff, the stat that ends the whole conversation. In 2024, Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown led the Boston Celtics to the NBA championship, with Brown named Finals MVP. The picks Brooklyn gave away didn't just become good players, they became a title. And Brooklyn? For their 2 aging legends, the Nets reached the second round of the playoffs exactly once and won a grand total of 1 playoff series before the whole thing collapsed. They mortgaged an entire decade of their future with 0 protection for a season and a half of old stars and not a single finals appearance. The Rudy Gobert trade 2022. Minnesota sent Utah 4 players, the 22nd overall pick, 4 first-round picks, and a pick swap. One of the biggest hauls ever surrendered for a single player, and for a defensive center who averaged just 12.5 points a game. At the time, plenty of people flat out called it the worst trade of all time. The twist? It's the one on this list that actually worked out. Gobert helped drag Minnesota to the best era in franchise history. Even a package that insane can occasionally pay off. Just remember, I said occasionally. 2023, Milwaukee traded away Jrue Holiday, a beloved champion, to land Lillard and go all in around Giannis. It flopped. Lillard's buckets kept losing early in the playoffs. And here's the kicker. Jrue Holiday got flipped to the Boston Celtics days later, where he became a key piece of their 2024 championship. And the Kristaps Porzingis saga in Dallas? The Mavericks gave up 2 first-round picks for Porzingis in 2019. He never fit next to Luka, and they shipped him out just a few years later for pennies on the dollar. Just one chapter in a run of big Dallas swings that ended with the Luka disaster we already covered. Now, what trade do you think is the most reckless? But the bigger question is, where do you think LeBron will end up? Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel to help me reach my goal of 1,000 subscribers.